I went down on my younger cousin during quarantine. I don't regret it. I live alone, so I got quite lonely several weeks into quarantine, which worked out perfectly because my younger cousin Liz, who was a freshman in college, needed a spot to stay due to school canceling from the virus. I had an empty room left where my ex-wife moved out and got divorced with me. The last time I saw Liz was about 8 years ago when she was 11. She's 19 now. I remember her as lanky and awkward. She was like a small girl growing into a spider's body, all limbs. I thought it would be awkward before she showed up, but it turns out we share a lot of common interests, so we got along easily. Movies became a nightly tradition pretty quickly. Around 6, we would each pick a movie we thought the other person might like, watch one, make dinner, and watch the other. Honestly, my favorite part of Liz being there was the help in the kitchen. It felt like I had a mini Gordon Ramsay in my house. The food was so good. I had my fair share of junk food and pre-made pizza making because my ex-wife grew up eating cereal, junk food, and frozen dinner. Dinner with Liz each night was the beginning of the end for me. I would constantly catch myself reaching out to touch her lower back like I had with a few times I did with my wife, or just staring at the back of her neck, her hair tied up while she focused on some mundane tasks like chopping up an onion and resisting the urge to gently kiss her on the shoulder. Last Monday was the first time I caught an idea that she might be interested in me. After the first movie of the night, Liz left to take a shower to wash off after a run she had taken earlier that day, while I threw together a pizza. Right after her shower, she surprised me by walking into the living room with just her towel on and asked me how the pizza was turning out. I'd like to lie to you and say that I kept my surprise hidden and acted as if there wasn't a mostly naked 19-year-old suddenly standing in front of me, but after looking her up and down, my eyes lingering on her bare shoulders, then on her small breast framed by the towel, the hem of the arguably too short for her height towel that ended just below her hips and all the long, sculpted legs that followed, each location for a few moments too long, I tripped over my eloquent reply. Good. Like a professional middle schooler. Liz just smirked, gave me a crooked smile, and walked back to the bathroom saying, "Well, it smells really good." It took me a while to regather myself after seeing so much skin, but I was able to rebuild my composure and push thoughts of certain barely covered areas into a small bowl, but sturdy cage and adjust my pants. As I was pulling the pizza out, Liz walked back into the living room, thankfully wearing more clothes, an old baggy hoodie that was one of her favorites and some dark black running shorts. She sat down on the couch and buried her nose in her phone while I finished up in the kitchen. Thankfully, it seemed, she was not too concerned with my lingering eyes, and I tried to forget the recent image of so much perfect skin. I cut us a few slices of still hot pizza, brought them out, and started up the movie thinking it was an odd prank she was pulling or just a joke that threw me off while I was small, but loud part of my mind hoped it wasn't a joke at all. Partway through the movie I noticed Liz was back on her phone off and on. At some point she stretched out on the couch, head on one arm rest and legs bent, and her feet pressed up against my leg. She kept shifting her legs trying to get comfortable until I asked, "Want to stretch them out?" and patted the tops of my legs. She just smiled at me and stretched them out, letting her feet rest on my lap. I instinctively shifted my hands out from under my blanket and started massaging her cold feet before I realized what I was doing and froze. I slowly looked over and saw her staring at me, a questioning, but not uncomfortable look on her face. I used to massage Nicole's ex-wife feet all the time like this, just instinct, sorry. And I started to desperately search for a new place for my hands. Liz spoke up for the first time since the movie started, laughing a little as she spoke. "I don't mind at all. It actually feels really nice. I went on a long run while you were at work, so you won't hear any complaints from me." And so, I kept massaging her feet, listening to her breathing, and paying almost no attention to the movie. Eventually, her feet were as warm as my hands and I started moving down her lower legs, giving her calf some attention.